Namaste, namaskaram, vanakkam, namo namaha, Jai Ganesha. Please visit our website at classicalyoga.org, and there is a donate button if you'd like to help us out. Mono versus Pali, the battle of the ages. Singular versus plural. Singularism, pluralism. One versus two. Who wins? One loses. Think about that for a moment. You're probably thinking, which one? But no, one loses. Because there is no one of anything. We live in a world of duality, multiplicity. Even when physicists thought they found the one, the atom, which literally means indivisible. What happened when they split the atom? Kaboom. A whole other subatomic realm opened up. And of course, no one has ever seen an atom, though through inference, it's proved that atoms exist. But what's inside of those? A whole other world of protons, electrons, neutrons, and actually more empty space than space. So not only has no one ever seen an atom, physicists go even deeper into quantum theory and quarks and string theory. Of course, no one's ever seen those either. So searching for a one thing is a vain search. Everything can be divided and divided and divided and divided until poof, no thing. Very interesting that the Hindus came up with the numeral 0. Sunyam. By itself, nothing. Fully represented by the black holes of creation, the no-thingness, of which there must be something, or else there would not continue to be creation, but it's so subtle that no one actually experiences it consciously. When Hindus speak of, for example, the absolute or the non-dual state, we're doing just that. It's just talk. That's why it's a bit humorous when you hear non-dualists give lectures. That's why in the Hindu Yoga Dharma we have the concept of the Muni, the silent sage, Dakshinamurti. For what can one say about nothing? No thing. Nothing, clearly. So whether we use the number one or the word one, we have to be very careful and realize that this is simply a designation term, a pronoun, an adjective. Oh, he or she is one of those. He or she is one fool. In our extremist mindset, when we seek for the one, it can result in innumerable problems, disasters. However, so let's look at one as an indicator. And here we can use logic, wisdom, which is actually the ability to discern difference. In other words, a common agreement on common sense observable facts, common agreement on what is true and what is not true. Remember, if societies were still stuck in Roman numerals, there'd be little advancement. But combine the creation of the 0 and the 1, and life computes, the binary system. So let's be clear that the moment we think, much less speak or write, we're in this world of diversity. So in that sense, poly, duality, 2, always wins. And 1 truly loses. However, when it comes to the no-thingness, which we may use the word absolute, nothing can be said. So in all practicality, when we say 1, let's recognize that we're speaking about a very specific thing, which is made up of multiple things. So we need to discern between when to use the 1 indicator, a 1 understanding, a 1 truth, a 1 reality, which is always composed of a multiplicity, and when to use the poly definition, the manyness. Then this age-old battle of mono versus poly, or 1 versus 2, ceases to be a battle. For the battle is actually inside of ourself. It's a understanding of the 2 hemispheres of our brain. This is fully studied in the Hindu yoga dharma, Hinduism, the Hindu religion. The left brain is generally associated with the masculine features, the Pingala, analytical, logical, rational, numbering system, duality, while the right brain, the more feminine, the Ida, sees things more in a unified understanding. It's clear that this wrestling goes on inside of us, of when to use the left brain, analytical, logical, rational, thinking, numerical qualities, and when to use the multitudinous nature, the spontaneous nature, the unified nature. This becomes the sada, lola, hara of life, the truth, sada, of the swing, lola, of life, as we go back and forth between essentially our left and our right brain, till we achieve a balance in the middle, a sattvic balance of equilibrium, now fully realizing that there are times to use the 1 indicators, a 1 truth, a 1 way. And there's a time to use the multitudinous side, a unified side, a diverse side. If we keep the image of a teeter-totter or a seesaw at a playground in mind, we can clearly see this wisdom of the necessity of both extreme ends and a balance in the middle. Sometimes we need to fully fall onto the left side, sometimes to the right side. And achieving a balanced life in the middle, note we have 1 foot to the left, 1 foot to the right. Now we become adroit at knowing when to go left, when to go right. The benefit of both. Not falling flat on either side, which is to be out of balance, which is obviously the learning curve in life, to reach the equilibrium in the middle, what Hindus call the sattvic state. So remember, there is no left without right. For all those politicos out there, there's no right without left. There's no conservative without liberal. There's no liberal without conservative. In other words, there's a time to go left, there's a time to go right. There's a time to conserve. There's a time to be liberal. There's a place for recognizing common sense, observable facts, truths, rights and wrongs. And there is a time for relative perception. Leaving the absolute zero state, if you will, or the no thingness, to the pure experience that it is. As we reflect what's behind that, and what's behind that, and what's behind that, until poof, no thing, the zero experience. Coming out of that, we bring together the swing of life, the duality of life, and learn to live a balanced life. For clearly in these times, and actually in all times, because young souls are always being born, it's a growth process. In these times, we see this radical swing from left to right. We, of course, see it in politics. We see it in an unhealthy sportsmanship when there are gross winners and losers. We've seen it throughout the ages in religion. Monotheism versus polymorphism. So with these thoughts in mind, let's look at the good, the bad, and the ugly of both the mono view and the poly view. So right off the bat, polymorphic wins. Notice we didn't say polytheism. Remember, theos is the Greek and Latin for God, which we'll get into. Life is duality. No duality, no life. This is the good. Physicists even recognize the string theory, vibrating strings. As soon as you have a vibration, you have duality. How does this become bad and ugly? When in our duality, in our diversity, we fail to recognize the necessity of the individual parts that make up the whole. Or from the one point of view, the mono point of view, when we don't recognize that as an individual part, we are automatically part of the whole. So for example, while it is true that we all bleed red, mixing blood types can be disastrous. While it is true that we are all humans, each one of us is a very specific being with specific and unique body type, DNA and fingerprints, for example. While it is true that we create and make a living for ourselves, how we do that can vary immensely, both honest and dishonest, good and bad. While it is true that we are all devoted to something, the emphasis is on thing. Which thing? What thing? So it seems what we're actually doing here is wrestling inside of ourselves with our left and our right brain, our specifics and our generalities. When to be specific, when to be general. When to be mono, when to be poly. But remember, when it comes to speaking about non-duality, it's just that. We really can't speak about something which is non-dual. That's the zero experience. For Hindus, that's the understanding of the absolute no-thingness, of which one cannot even think, much less speak. We say, yato vacho nirvartante aprapyas manasa saha. That experience is beyond the mind, beyond speech. So, similar to going into deep sleep at night, we go into a no-thingness of which we just don't know what's going on. Obviously, something must still be going on, or else we wouldn't wake up. So as soon as we do enter the waking state, we enter into the multiplicity, the one-manyness of life. It always has to be one-many. One here is simply an indicator because remember, one is already two, one and not one. So language can be very confusing at this point. So if we just keep in mind that when we use the word zero or absolute or non-dual, we basically have to keep our mouth shut. That's why in Hinduism we have the munis, the yogis who don't speak, or Shiva as Dakshinamurti, who does not speak, rather coming from a realm of pure inner experience. Coming out of that zero state, we automatically come into the diversity of life, the one-manyness of life, the unity and diversity of life. So often when people are speaking in Hinduism about non-duality, it seems they're really talking about a state of oneness or unity, which is already implies a manyness. As soon as you have oneness, there must be a multiplicity going on there. So essentially searching for a constant, a pure experience, which must be that. That's why we Hindus call the soul the Atmana. It's not our mind, so how can we even speak about it if it's not our mind? We can't even think about it. But using thought, practicality, rationality, we talk about that unified experience. Remember, we can't talk about the zero experience, but the unified experience we talk about as Sat Chit Ananda. Sat is pure experience, pure consciousness. Chid is pure energy, light energy. And then the Ananda becomes the human feeling of love or bliss. Sat Chit Ananda. Obviously, this is a pure experience that goes beyond words, goes beyond even thought. It's a pure experience of pure existence, pure energy, and a pure feeling of love. Now, in life, we then come out of those experiences into the manyness of life and express those qualities, either in a healthy or an unhealthy way. For example, the pure energy can be used for good or bad. The love can be either a narcissistic love or a more all-encompassing selfless love. So we ultimately discern that there is a time for one as an indicator of rights and wrongs, for example, and then understanding the duality of life, the multiplicity of life, swinging back and forth adroitly between left and right brain. And clearly we also see that for many of us, we fall flat on one side or the other, being stuck in a one way, or on the other hand, being stuck in an always mindset that doesn't really recognize specifics in life. So when we fall flat on either side, that's a problem. When we adroitly use our left and right sides, then it becomes a wonderful game of sportsmanship as we go through life in a healthy way. Therefore, let's look at some healthy mono or one indicator points of view. This is actually our left masculine brain, the analytical, logical, rational thinking area. And then we'll see how we can distort that into some unhealthy, negative left brain qualities. So very simply, our left brain, and this is part of Raja Yoga in Hinduism, where we study the Pingala and the Ida, the left and right brain. So we essentially want to be, whether we're a man or a woman, gender doesn't really matter at this point. It's what's going on inside of us. We all express to one degree or another these masculine and feminine qualities. And typically the masculine qualities, left brain, are positively analytical, logical, rational thinking. But there's also a negative to the male: hardness, crudeness, meanness, intolerance. So too, in the right brain, the feminine side, whether, again, we're a man or a woman, doesn't matter at this point. The positive female qualities: soft, intuitive, gentle, creative, nature, spiritual. Left side is religious, so right side is spiritual. That's why they too always go together, religion/spirituality, if we want to have a healthy brain. And therefore the negative in the feminine would be cold, indifferent, erratic emotional highs and lows, depression, anxiety. Obviously, we want to keep out of the basement consciousness of the left and right brain. And again, whatever gender we are, and there are only two genders, male or female, and this would help solve a lot of the problems, because if we're a man, for example, we may have a lot of positive feminine qualities or negative feminine qualities, and that's simply our personality. It doesn't change the fact that we are a biological man. So too, many biological women may have many very strong masculine qualities, either positive or negative. That's the personality. That would help alleviate much of the nonsense that we see going on today in the whole non-binary movement. So again, let's look at some healthy one indicator mono left brain mindsets. We are one person. We are one sex. We are one unique individual with a DNA, fingerprints, eye recognition. We have one set of parents. We may have specific talents, maybe one talent. We may have one occupation. We may have one political affiliation. We may have one religion. These can all be very healthy indicators, designators of living a rational, logical life. This can become unhealthy, however, when our one person becomes narcissism, or one sex becomes a non-binary madness, when our uniqueness becomes an infatuation with our body, an ego infatuation, when we recognize that we have one set of parents, especially when we're young, we tend to boast that they're the best parents or perhaps the worst parents, and it becomes an unhealthy situation. If we have a specific talent, a specific sport, especially when we're young, adolescent, we may think it's the best one or the only one. You know, surfers, for example, people who don't surf well, they're just totally out of it. We may have one occupation, but that can become very unhealthy when we, in a very egotistical way, declare, oh, well, I'm a lawyer, I'm a stockbroker, I'm a doctor, so implying that other people are lower than them. We may have one political affiliation, but then here, clearly we see this battle between left and right and liberal and conservative. Remember, there is no left without right. There's no right without left. There's no liberal without conservative. There's no conservative without liberal. And so too with religion. We can fully respect that we have a specific religion that we belong to, but this can become very unhealthy when we become a monotheist in the sense that we now view our religion as the only true one and every other one is false at best or outright evil, perhaps to be eradicated. So let's look at some healthy monotype mindset language. When we're proud to be who we are, when we know who we are, we're a man, we're a woman, we're a boy, we're a girl, when we love our parents, when we say, I love my sport, my hobby, I love my occupation, I love my political affiliation, I love my religion while fully respecting those of other religions. I have a way. It's not the way, and it's certainly not no way. Let's look at some unhealthy mono left brain jargon. It's all about I, me, my body. I am a doctor, I am a lawyer, I am a PhD, in a very boastful manner. Don't you know who I am? Or, in an inferior way, I'm nobody. My body's ugly. I'm just a janitor. I fail at everything I do. I failed out of school. So we clearly see that whatever our intellectual prowess or lack of, we can all get stuck in one side or the other. And the mono mindset is typically a more masculine mindset, but many women also can fall flat on this side of the teeter-totter, if you will. Now, vice versa, many fall flat on the poly side, and it's often a very feminine thing. And it can be healthy, it can be very unhealthy. So a very healthy, diverse look, poly look, unity and diversity, is a respect for others, treating the sexes equally, when it comes to rights, of course, respecting diversities of interests, respecting the various occupations, seeing how they're all necessary, which is actually the original Varna system in Hinduism, just simply a respect for laborers and builders and business people and warriors, protectors, and educators. A healthy respect for the political process, and a healthy respect for the various religions of the world. Now, where this can become unhealthy from a right-brain poly perspective, when we become too tolerant in our respect for others. There is such a thing. It's when we get walked all over. It's also the non-binary madness that we see. When we become too open-minded. There's a cliche that we don't want to be closed-minded. That's the unhealthy left brain or mono brain. But we don't want to be so open-minded that our brains fall out. That's an unhealthy right brain poly brain. We often see this in today's massive New Age phony yoga movement, where they don't recognize now the specifics, the specific fact that yoga is really all about the Hindu religion, and they assume a unhealthy universal attitude. For example, the statement yoga is for everybody is in a way not much different than the fundamentalist statement that Jesus is for everybody. There is a subtle difference, however. The pure, if you will, fundamentalist, Jesus is for everybody, fully believes that that is the only way and every other way is false or perhaps evil. On the other extreme, however, when one says, for example, yoga is for everybody, they're saying that essentially yoga, without admitting that it's Hinduism, is universal and fits into everybody's religion. So, in this extreme, the universalist says that they respect all religions, but actually there's a fundamentalism to it because they're doing something very specific that they say can be incorporated into anybody's religion. So here's where the two extremes start to become almost similar in many ways. The big difference with the fundamentalists is that they can be extremely dangerous and have been throughout history. The universalist is not quite as dangerous, but equally debilitating because they don't recognize the specifics of life. They're falling flat on the poly side. Again, in life we want to learn this balance of learning when to go left and when to go right. That's the sattvic state in Hinduism, the equilibrium state. So an individual with a healthy poly mindset will say things like, I respect you. I respect you, whatever your specific sex is, your specific interests, your specific occupation, your specific political affiliations, or your specific religion. Unhealthy poly language, very interestingly, is found in thoughtless cliches like, we are all one. Think about that. That's actually bad math. We all one? One what? We're all the same. There's no differences. No labels, no divisions. Imagine the scenario of going into a supermarket at night, taking all the labels off the food. Labels are very important in life. We don't want to get stuck in them. Again, we get stuck either on the left brain or the right brain. So how do we develop this balance? We have to live life, have many experiences. Be willing to fall flat on one side or the other. It's a learning curve. And how quickly we learn is entirely up to us. It's clear that when we're flat on either side, that's the major stress, major world problems that we see. So if we want to really find a balance, go take a walk. Look what happens when we walk. The body's teaching us that we walk with a diagonal pattern. Right foot goes out, left arm goes out, and vice versa. We're developing this diagonal flow of left and right brain, masculine and feminine. Isn't it also interesting that those countries, and most of them do, drive on the right side of the road, the wheel is on the left side of the car, and vice versa. Those who drive on the left side of the road, the wheel's on the right side. This is the diagonal flow, the diagonal balance. And it's interesting that most of the worlds figure out that driving on the right side of the road and then the wheel is on the left side of the car seems to work out best. So I think it needs to be said that we start with the left brain, being analytical and logical and rational, so that our feelings don't get carried away with us. And actually, if we look at the Yoga Sutras of the Saiva Hindu Guru Patanjali, that's actually the first two signs of someone with calm wisdom, samadhi, and therefore two ways to enter into calm wisdom. Vitarka, vichara, reason, which is also logic, and judgment. Reason and judgment. Does it make sense? Think it out. And judgment, again, here is where the negative Pali mind comes in when they say do not judge, which is actually a judgment. Judgment is the ability to make wise decisions, to be able to discern. So too wisdom, the ability to discern difference, not sameness, but difference, to be able to tell the difference, when to be left brain, when to be right brain. The diagonal flow of life, the balance of life, the dance of life, beautifully represented by the dancing Shiva Nataraja, learning this balance, learning to dance with life, not getting stuck on either the left or the right side, but fully utilizing left and right, fully utilizing specifics, the mono mindset, and then the Pali, diverse mindset, knowing when to apply each one. So when we fall flat on the left side, the mono side, the my way or the highway side, it can lead to serious conflicts and outright wars, as it has through the past. Political wars, religious wars. But on the other hand, when we fall flat on the Pali side, life can lose its most important definitions of rights and wrongs that help us to navigate through life, to find direction. Because sometimes there is only one way to get to a certain destination. Without this wisdom of direction, we can really lose our way in life. Remember, and especially Hindus out there and all those into New Age yoga, if anything goes, anything goes. That's why you have hot yoga and power yoga and doggy yoga and laughter yoga and nude yoga and goat yoga and beer yoga and all the scandals that have come along with that. The real downside of the Pali side of our mind. So let's take a lesson from Mr. Miyagi, who first and foremost taught his student, Daniel-san, to choose first, using the left brain, the analytical side. Walk on the right or the left side of the road, but not in the middle. Once you choose, once you use your rationality, your logic and judgment, now you seek balance in life. The whole life is balance. And we can use the acronym NAT, the NAT principle, which we can apply to most anything in life, especially when it comes to politics and religion. NAT, one's religion, for example, is not the way, the pure, hard fundamentalist. And the other extreme, it's not no way or always, the universalist, but a middle ground of a way. Certainly this is a lifelong lesson to learn in many areas of life, that our way is a way. It's not the way, and it's not no way. It's a very specific way. This is a balanced sattvic position of equilibrium, a balanced mind. And as we go through all of the varied experiences in our life, it's eventually teaching us this through falling flat on either side, just like the youthful gymnasts who get up on the balance beam and try for that one perfect routine, which takes days and months and years of falling from one side to the other. And maybe they'll get one perfect routine in their life. They keep striving for it as we swing side to side. In Hinduism, we sing a song to Shiva, Sada Lolahara Namah Shivaya, the truth, Sada, of the swing of life, the left and the right, the duality of life, which is Hara. It's destroying our ignorance and eventually helping us to achieve a balanced point in the middle, the sattvic life. So have fun with this challenging game of life as we go from left side to right side. because it's developing that connection in the middle, the corpus callosum. Play music. Learn to read music, play music. Find activities that use both your left and your right brain, your analytical, logical, rational thinking area, specific area, mono area, and then also your soft, intuitive, gentle, creative, spiritual nature. Remember, left brain is religious, right brain is spiritual, but they have to go together. So remember, one of the negative sides of the poly brain is to say I'm spiritual but not religious. It doesn't work that way. Religion is the link to that which goes beyond the material world. We don't want to be a missing link. Left and right brain working together. Work on developing both our IQ, left brain, and EQ, right brain. Searching for a balance. And in our next podcast, we'll explore some healthy ways to develop a healthy IQ and EQ. So as we play these games of life, let's strive for sportsmanship. And let's practice this internal judo as we learn to wrestle with the left and the right brain. Sada Lola Hara Namah Shivaya. Om Namaste.